or staying up late, however you are rolling on this particular Friday. It is a Fancy Coffee Friday. We'll be opening up Fancy Coffee Friday officially in a few minutes. It is a feel-good Friday because we did it, gang. We made it. We're here. We're at the end of the week. We got a full weekend ahead. And it is a football Friday, literally a football Friday, as Oregon goes on the road to take on Purdue at 5 o'clock tonight in West Lafayette, Indiana. I've been worried about this game for months before I even knew anything about Purdue. I knew nothing of Purdue when the Big Ten schedule came out. I believe it came out last spring, and they put the schedule out, and I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that game at all. And coming up in about 20 minutes, we'll talk about kind of the importance of these games. We know the importance of the Ohio State game. We know the significance of the Ohio State game, but it's the importance of these next games for Oregon and for Dan Lanning, because something dawned on me this week. I've been lucky enough to be able to do this show all week, but also been a guest on a couple of podcasts this week. Shout out to Wake Up and Win and the I-5 Corridor Traffic Report. The thing that in the very brief career that Dan Lanning has had at Oregon, he's had a lot of successes. He's had Bo Nix sitting in the Heisman Trophy presentation. He took Oregon to the Pac-12 championship game and was just 3 points shy of winning the Pac-12 championship and heading to the college football playoff. Like that, never had to coach a team out front. He's been very good at coaching the team back from the depths of a tough loss. Never seen him coach a team from out front. So we'll talk about that. And also want to talk about the importance of these next 6 games for Oregon with something that Tyson brought up on Wednesday, which is it was interesting that at Autzen Stadium, there was a lot of people there. Over 60,000 people were there. I was there. But there was also another guy in the building calling plays for Ohio State. It was Chip Kelly. And I look back at the history of Oregon football, and that 4-year run of Chip Kelly stands alone. And I think for a lot of Oregon fans, even with Helfrich coaching for the national title, and Marcus Mariota winning the Heisman, and even with Mario Cristobal putting Oregon as a top 10 recruiting class, which never thought was possible, there was always this, but is it ever going to be like it was with Chip? Chip Kelly has kind of been the high school girlfriend that Oregon fans have never, ever been quite ready to get over. I wonder if they're ready yet. And I'll tell you what will determine that. Games against Purdue, games against Maryland, or in Illinois, games against Maryland, games against Wisconsin and Michigan, and of course, the game against Washington. Because one of the things that Chip Kelly, he got out of the way early in his career with, which is the disastrous loss. Did it game 1, lost to Boise. If you look back, Chip Kelly took some losses, not very many of them. Took some losses as the head coach at Oregon. Very few of them disastrous, though, when you look back at them. Yeah, they lost in 2012 to Stanford. Stanford was really good back then. That was a big-time matchup. That USC game with LeBron that I talk about all the time, they lost that game. Yeah, that was tough. USC was 10-2 that year. So we're going to dive into that a little bit, the importance of these next 6 games for Dan Lanning and Oregon football. First year in the Big Ten. Also, it looks like Russell Wilson's going to be taking the snaps for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is intriguing to me as a Steeler fan. I wonder, again, speaking of old girlfriends, right? We might do a whole show with that analogy. But speaking of old girlfriends, right? Where are Seattle fans in their relationship with Russ? Still mad? Still upset? Now, I understand why you booed him Monday Night Football. I get it. If I was a Seahawk fan, I'd have been booing him too. You seem to have what every quarterback in the league kind of wanted or wants, which is a home and a place where you are beloved And Russell Wilson took that love from all the Seahawks fans and he threw it all away for self-interest. He wanted out. Didn't want to be under the shadow of Pete Carroll anymore. A couple years later, Pete Carroll will be fired. Russell Wilson would be traded or released and then signed for league minimum. He's still making a lot of money from the Broncos, but wonder where Seahawks fans are with Russell Wilson. So we'll definitely dive into that. We have got a full slate of college football games. Also, I've talked about the significance of these games with Oregon. Brendan, I'll bring you in right here, and we'll talk about it throughout the show. Significance of this game for Oregon State, because when Oregon State was 4-1, heading to Nevada, looked as though, and obviously they were favorites in that game, didn't work out as such, but it looked as though...
Yes, thank you for the reminder.
I don't know how to address it, but it happened. So... But
it did. I was there. And like Mike said yesterday, I'm still not really over it.
Still not ready to get over it.
That's what happens when you travel for your team.
It is a tough lesson that I've had to learn as well. And because I went to Dallas, Texas to watch Oregon play Auburn for my 40th birthday. And they lost the game.
That's Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. Boy, have I had a roller coaster ride of emotion with old Bo Nix. Lost it in horrific fashion, too. Had it, fumble, scoop score.
But isn't it kind of funny, though, like in a true sense,
Bo Nix on
like I was
down.
talking to some of my family yesterday who I went down on the trip with, and we were like, yeah, what a great trip. Except for Saturday.
Yeah. It's a tough part about traveling for sports. It's hard to do. It's like you have to almost take the outcome of the game away. But we're all emotional fans. It's hard to do. We're all invested emotionally. But speaking of that emotional investment, for Oregon State, looking at the season ahead, it looked as though at 4-1, worst case scenario is some, lower to mid-tier bowl, right? Well, plans have changed a little bit with injuries and now that loss. How big is it for Oregon State this year to get to a bowl game? First year under Trent Bray, uncertain future about the rebuilding of the Pac-12, even though something is ultimately going to happen and it's going to get worked out. But in a year where obviously Washington State and Oregon State took it very, very personal about being left behind, as they should have, how important is it for Trent Bray with the fan base to get to a bowl game in year one? I think it's pretty important. And I think this is one of those tipping point games because you got Boise still on the schedule, still have Washington State on the schedule, got to go to Cal.
You'll get to 6 wins with San Jose State and Air Force. That's just the only question is, do you get beyond 6? Because right now I don't really know if I see a path for them beyond 6.
But if you get this, what would be an upset tomorrow, but and a big win for Trent Bray, if you get that whole lot more comfortable, feeling a whole lot more comfortable about the second half of the season.
Totally. And as Mike said yesterday, you can't count out the Beavers at Reser Stadium, but man, Justin.
That damn chainsaw.
Oregon State is top 10 worst in the country in rush yards allowed. UNLV is top 15 in the country in rush yards gained. Nevada just ran for almost 400. So my thing is, I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but I just...
it's a bad matchup, is what you're saying.
It's a terrible matchup, and I just don't... I mean, Oregon State will be better at home. Don't get me wrong. But I'm like, can they be better enough to knock off a really good UNLV team? I don't know, Jim. I don't know.
How can we keep going back to the Tony
I don't
Romo
know.
voice?
It's hard to say. I mean, you can't pick again. It's what? It went down to 6.5, but it's a challenge, Justin.
As crazy as it sounds, isn't Cal a better matchup for the Bees? I know it's on the road, but Cal's almost a better matchup.
Cal's been weird this year.
Because they're going to want to play that ugly kind of, grind it out kind of game.
Probably. I mean, it's the road, and the Beavers are always not so great on the road, but... Yeah, I mean, I think right now, just you got a lot of Beaver fans who are circling the wagons go, okay, worst case scenario, we're probably going to beat Air Force, and we're probably going to beat San Jose State.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't want to say those are guarantees. Air Force can run the ball.
Because Nevada. The Nevada loss, anything's possible now.
It is. So nothing is guaranteed, but I think Beaver fans are like, okay, let's not, It's not, mess around and find out. I'll just leave it at that.
Yes. Good edit.
We want to go to a bowl game this year, Justin.
I mean, but it's
so
huge.
We'll see.
That's why I kind of brought it up, is because I think this might be a tipping point game. It gets real uncomfortable if you can't get this win against UNLV. What is it, 7.5? Sitting at 7.5?
Down to 6.5.
Started at 6, went all the way up to 7.5, came back down.
Money coming in on the Beavs. I think that spread seems just about right.
I'm always fascinated at, obviously, Oregon State or say I guess maybe more UNLV fans would be betting on this game because they are in Vegas. But I am always fascinated when you see movement of like a couple of 4-2 teams in. I know technically they're not the Mountain West, but like, a Mountain West game, 4-2, and the money is moving. Like, who is betting on these games? And it's like,
I'll say this.
There's a lot of people who have a lot of gambling bets.
Good friend of ours who works for a different radio station in town.
He bets on a lot of stuff.
He hit me up yesterday. He goes, so thinking about taking the Beavs in this game. How are they looking with injuries? And I'm like, not good. And he's
is that big, tall, bald guy?
Yeah.
That big, tall, bald guy?
Might be something.
He now works for that other bald guy?
Played some hoops in his old day.
All right.
No, but I chuckled because I'm like, oh, so there's the bettors that Justin's talking about.
All right. We're going to talk some more football coming up, but it is Friday, and it is tradition on this particular day of the week that we celebrate. We celebrate the hard work that all of us, mostly you, have put in throughout the week. It is time for Fancy Coffee Friday. Here we go. That is right. You deserve it. You have earned it. I believe in each and every one of you. And whether or not your fancy coffee is like mine, which is a big, giant Seattle coffee conglomerate version, or maybe you just like going to your gas station convenience store and you like it out of that big old HODL and you want to throw in a couple of syrups and a couple of creamers, whatever you want to do. If you want to go run through a fast food place that offers up some sort of mocha latte free, you do you, because you know what? Whatever fancy coffee means to you on a Friday is whatever it means to you. Cheers to all of you. We appreciate you hanging out with us, and we mean it from the bottom of our hearts. Fancy coffee is for everyone. Here's to the hardest working audience. I feel it in my gut in all of sports radio. Thanks for hanging out with us. Lots of football to talk about on the big show next. Cheers on a Fancy Coffee Friday. It is 620 Rip City Radio. All right, coming up tonight, 5 o'clock, Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks take on Purdue in West Lafayette, Indiana. Boilermakers 1-5, I think. I think they have one win on the year. It was against Indiana State. But I will say, since they did they fire their defensive coordinator after the Beaver game?
Offensive coordinator and benched Hudson Card at quarterback.
There you go. So they benched, and that was all after the Beaver game?
Yes.
So after the Beaver game, the Beavs took care of Purdue earlier this year at Reser. They fired their offensive coordinator. They benched their quarterback. And I haven't won any games, but they have looked more competent and actually gave Illinois a bit of a scare last week. Oregon's still a 4-touchdown favorite, but it is still a road game unlike any other, right? This is the one thing that Oregon has not done this year. Oregon has not traveled 2 time zones. The only road games the Ducks have been on have been to L.A., and they got on a bus and drove. With a bus, I could make it to Corvallis on a good day in about 45 minutes. Don't speed through Junction City. It's bad. I've done it before. You end up going back there and having to tell everybody why you sped, and then you have to pay them like $180. I've done that before. But they got in a bus and drove to Corvallis. They've been to L.A. They have not traveled 2 time zones. And when you look at what has been going, I believe Penn State's the only team right now that has traveled 2 time zones in the Big Ten and won the game. USC they lost at Michigan. They lost at Minnesota. Obviously, Ohio State lost in Eugene. There's not a lot of teams traveling those 2 time zones, playing a game and winning. Now, again, 4-touchdown favorites, but Oregon has long said since this new version of Oregon football came out back in the late 90s that they have no tradition. Right, Oregon, one of the benefits that they have is they are not bound by tradition. Tradition in college football is great. It's what makes it special. But tradition can handcuff you. Well, we don't do that here. Well, maybe you should start. College game day was there. They beat USC, essentially ending the Pete Carroll dynasty at USC. The next week, they would lose to Stanford. Stanford was 8-5 that year. They also had a first-year starting quarterback named Andrew Luck. But Stanford was unranked. They were unranked in November. And Oregon would go down to the farm, and they would lose to Stanford. Now, Oregon would bounce back. They would win a couple of games, beat Oregon State in one of the greatest civil wars of all time in 2009, and they would go on to face Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. But the reason they weren't in the national championship discussion, and who knows if they still would have been with Boise, but because Alabama played Texas that year, was the tradition of losing or beating a top 10 team and then losing to an unranked team. We continue on. 2011. Oregon goes to Stanford. Stanford's the number 3 team in the country in 2011. Oregon goes down on the farm, takes care of 53-30. Oregon's the number 4 team in the country. They were shaking off that early season loss to LSU. Oregon at that point, right back in the mix to get into the national title game. Some things would have had to fall their way, but they were number 4. They were facing USC. USC was 18 in the country and will go on to be 10-2. But Brendan, I remember it like at the back of my hand. Oregon was a 14-point favorite in that game. 14-point favorite the week after they beat number 3 Stanford. They would lose. They would lose 38-35 in heartbreaking fashion. They would bounce back and ultimately win the Rose Bowl that year, which was nice, beating Russell Wilson, who's in the news lately. You would have 2012. Oregon would go on the road, beat USC 62-51, avenging the loss of the previous year. 2 weeks later, Now, they didn't play a top 10 opponent that year until they played Kansas State in the bowl game. 2 weeks later, though, they would lose at home to Stanford. That's the most heartbreaking loss in Oregon football history. Oregon was the number one team in the nation. They were number one. And they would lose to Stanford. Not quite in the tradition that we are talking about here, but nonetheless, we continue on. 2013, Marcus Mariota, first year of head coach Mark Helfrich. UCLA was number 12 in the country. Oregon would beat number 12, UCLA. They would lose to Stanford the next week. And then 2 weeks later, they would lose on the road to unranked Arizona. There's a little bit of a theme here. There's a little bit of a tradition here that was brewing. Oregon early on in the 2014 season, a season where they would win the Rose Bowl and play for a national title again. They beat number 7 Michigan State. Now that was week 2, but up until that Rose Bowl, it's the biggest win and the biggest opponent, highest ranked opponent on their schedule. They would beat the number 7 team in the country. 3 weeks later, they would lose at home to unranked Arizona. Continuing on, 2015, not really the best year. That was they would beat number 7 Stanford and then lose the biggest lead in the history of bowl games to TCU. 2016 was a complete and utter disaster. And you have to fast forward to 2018 because if you go to the Willie Taggart era, they didn't play a big game or even come close to winning a big game. I also remember in 2017 that that was the year that Justin Herbert broke his collarbone and they had to play with a backup quarterback. 2018, though, they would lose again in heartbreak fashion to Stanford, but would bounce back and would defeat at Autzen Stadium, another unbelievable day, the number 7 team in the country, the Washington Huskies. The Washington Huskies would come to town. They would miss a field goal to win it at the end of regulation, go into overtime. C.J. Verdell would score the touchdown, and Oregon would walk off an overtime winner against the Huskies, riding high. They walked into a buzzsaw at Washington State and would lose to Washington State and then would lose again to Arizona on the road, back-to-back losses to the Ducks after beating the number 7 team in the country. That was 2018. 2019, the game that I hate bringing up, but Oregon would go on the road and beat USC. They would beat Arizona at home. They would be the number 6 team in the country, shaking off that Auburn loss that we talked about. Going on the road to unranked Arizona State, who would finish the season 8-5 that year, with a freshman quarterback and a pretty good receiver. 28-31 is your final. And Oregon would lose that game to Arizona State. 2020 is the weird COVID year. Then you go to 2021. Week 2, Oregon would travel to Ohio State and would defeat the number 3 Buckeyes in the Horseshoe. They would come back 3 weeks later. They would lose to a Stanford team. A Stanford team that would finish the year 3-9. 3-9. They would lose to a Stanford team in double O. See what I'm saying? Like this is why Oregon fans get so paranoid about these big wins, because there are so many. Now, I don't know if any are as big as what happened at Autzen Stadium on Saturday. I don't know if any are as significant as the win against Ohio State on Saturday. But as I have been saying all week long, the outcome of the significance of the win will be determined by the outcome of the season. Because I just rattled off about, I don't know, half a dozen top 10 wins. But those wins, except maybe in 2014, were negated by an inexplicable loss. Specifically 2021, when Oregon, like I mentioned, would beat Ohio State, would get all the way up to number 3 in the country. They would lose to Stanford. A 3-9 Stanford team in double overtime. Then they would lose to Utah twice in 3 weeks, and then Mario Cristobal would catch a private flight to Miami. And we shall never hear of him again. So, while I am not all that worried about the Purdue game, and I'm not all that worried about the rest of the season, because even if a loss were to happen, we are in a playoff era now. And the reason why those losses that I brought up there were so disastrous is because that was half of them were in a BCS era. The other half were in a college football playoff era. Oregon's got a get out of jail free card sitting in their pocket. Even, I'm going to knock on wood, even if they fall and lose tonight, oh boy, even if they do, you win the rest of your games. You may not play in the Big Ten championship game, but you're going to the playoff. You might not even get a home playoff game because that loss to Purdue would knock you so far down. But you still would likely, at 11-1 with a win over Ohio State, you make the playoff. So you got one get-out-of-jail-free card the rest of the way. And we talked about it yesterday. I think Oregon is as comfortable as anybody, except maybe Texas. Because if Texas beats Georgia tomorrow, oh boy, it's going to be tough to stop the Longhorns any way, shape, or form the rest of the way out. Other than Texas, I think Oregon is maybe the most comfortable team in terms of their ability to make the college football playoff. But a lot of those teams that I just mentioned were I know the number 3 team in the country, Oregon, when they were heading on the road to Stanford. Don't know what the point spread was in that game, but I know that Stanford team stunk. And ultimately would derail the season. And now they would lose to Utah twice, and once again proving that they were not ready for the college football playoff. But there's a lot of people talking, is the Ohio State win at Autzen the biggest regular season win in Oregon football history? It might be, but 2021 going on the road and beating Ohio State in the Horseshoe when they were number 3 in the country, we were saying that too. The reason that's not is because 3 weeks after that, they would lose to Stanford. A 3-9 Stanford team. There's a reason why in 2009, when Oregon would beat USC on Halloween night, that's not considered the greatest win, greatest regular season win in Oregon football history. Why? Because they would lose to Stanford. It's always Stanford, by the way. So now Dan Lanning does have an opportunity here in the next 6 weeks. Now, again, it's foolish. Oregon has gone undefeated one time in its existence. I don't know. Maybe there might be some 1904 team that went like 3-0. I don't know. I got to be careful about the existence because, as Brendan found out, the researchers will get you. Like talking about the.
I take issue with that.
Okay.
Because I'm still not wrong. It was still the original. It was like I said it was most wins in a season. Then everyone's like, oh, well, it's the start. It's the start. It's like, no, 7 is
your research got manipulated.
It did.
To a different premise.
And I was kind of irritated with it. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, it was just a record. No Oregon State coaches won more than 7 games in their first year. Period. I don't care about 4-1, 3-1. I don't. Nah. 7 wins. That's
Boom.
Been so manipulated. I'm sorry, Justin. You gave me an opening.
Okay.
It's been so manipulated. I had to set the record straight.
Also, little did you know that, like, what was the year that was in question where, like, they played Southern Oregon and they played
1920s, I think.
Played Willamette and
Something
Southern
like
Oregon on the same day?
Yeah, it was like the 20s. Yeah, something like that.
2 of those wins were on the same day.
Yeah, just a little different.
Split squadding. Could you imagine if you played Willamette and Southern Oregon on the same day today?
I mean, we'd win both games, so I'd be down for that.
Okay, so that was they said it was a split squad, though. Do you, I think he probably would. Even with all the injuries, like if you split squatted it, like spring game style,
You'd still beat Willamette in Southern Oregon.
No.
Yeah. I mean, how bad do you think we are, Justin?
Look,
I know you think we're a Mountain West team.
No. I'm just trying to think like split school. But yeah, you're right.
Okay, maybe actually, yeah. I'm like, no disrespect to Willamette or Southern Oregon, but you would just have skill position guys where you're like, that's your third string receiver. He's still faster than our whole team. Yeah.
That's a good point.
I feel what you're saying.
You get 2 wins there.
I think all Beaver fans are like, who can we beat these days?
But anyways, yeah. So I don't know, like Oregon football. I guess I've got the whole thing pulled up right here. I could look, but in its modern history, Oregon football has gone undefeated once. To think that they could look, college football is tricky. Sometimes you just don't have it. You're dealing with kids. There still might be injuries this season. We don't know, right? Crazy stuff happens, as I just alluded to. But this is the Oregon tradition that Dan Lanning now has to erase because it's not a fun tradition. And that is the tradition of beating a top 10 team and losing to a team you shouldn't lose to. I don't think it's going to happen tonight against Purdue, but you get Illinois. You got to go to the travel stuff is weird. Like Oregon hasn't done it yet, but they're going to go to Indiana, back to Eugene, to Michigan, back to Eugene, to Wisconsin, then back to Eugene. The travel stuff's going to get pretty interesting. And not just for Oregon, I think for a good chunk of teams. All right, coming up next, there's also a major marquee matchup in Texas with Georgia and Texas. There was something that Brendan brought up yesterday. I don't feel like we gave it enough attention with what Travis Hunter had to say about Ashton Genty. And let's dive into the Heisman race a little bit because there might be some Heisman implications coming up this weekend as well. We'll talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, cash for the sixth man. It is back. That's right. Rip City Radio is looking to give you $1,000 cash for the sixth man. You are the sixth man, unless the Blazers try to pull a Dan Lanning and put an extra guy out there. I don't know if it's have the same outcome, though. Listen for the keywords every weekday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the 15s for your chance to win $1,000 13 times a day. All the details at ripcityradio.com. All right, we are fairly close to the halfway point of the season for most teams. October and then into November is where the cream rises to the crop or the rubber meets the road. And there's a couple of significant games that are not in West Lafayette, Indiana this weekend. It is time for us to go on campus. All right, so not only is the Big Ten and the SEC and all the other conference races going to start heating up, the Heisman Trophy race getting very interesting. Dylan Gabriel looked completely out of it. Has a near perfect game. I say near because there was a point where Tez Johnson was open in the end zone, missed him. They would have to go for it on fourth down, and that's what led to the tight ending to the game. But regardless, unbelievable game by Dylan Gabriel at Autzen Stadium. Catapults him right back in. I believe if Quinn Ewers goes ballistic against Georgia, even though Quinn Ewers missed 3 games, I think it was 3 games. If Quinn Ewers goes ballistic against Georgia tomorrow and Texas continues their winning ways, I think Quinn Ewers gets back into it, and I think there is nothing outside of injury that is going to, I think, pull Ashton Jeanty out of this. Travis Hunter is the other interesting one. I have said, and I believe Travis Hunter is the best player in college football. He is doing amazing things. He also likes to tell everybody he's doing amazing things, which, you know what? I guess if you can back it up, talk your talk, kid. But he, now... Brendan, do we know the context of this? Because this quote seems kind of out of nowhere. I want to know. I wonder if it was in the context of the conversation. But according, this is from On3, put this out. He said, I mean, y'all see Ashton Jeanty. It's not like we haven't seen a running back that's good. We haven't seen a player that plays both ways, and I'm going to keep saying that. So he is now, again, in the new era of college football, usually the team would run your Heisman campaign. Travis Hunter's changing the game. I guess he's going to run his own Heisman campaign. I guess you're making your own money now. You've got your own podcast. You've got your own platform. Good for you. If it's not going to be Dylan Gabriel, I really want Jeanty to win the Heisman Trophy, and I'll tell you why. And it has nothing to do with the fact that he ran ballistic on Oregon in week 2 and it makes Oregon look better. That is neither here nor there to me. Transfer. Like, this is the year. The fact that Jeanty stayed at Boise. I don't know what he got NIL, but I'm sure it was something, but I doubt it was what he could have made at a lot of places in the country. That where players are going to the highest bidder, that maybe the best player is still playing for Boise State. I like that. I like that for college football. So that's why, if it's not Gabriel, for fan reasons and for financial reasons, one day one of these futures is going to hit for me, Brendan. One day.
You know that old saying, Justin, like, nobody cares about my fantasy team?
You don't care about my bets? You don't care about my Dylan Gabriel future?
Only because I heard all last year when you told me Bo Nix was going to win the Heisman. He didn't. I had to hear about that all year.
Came close, though.
Ifs and ands were pots and pans.
Vegas, I went there, and I said, hey, he finished top 3. Can I get a third? And they said no. They were like, no, sir. Please leave. I'm
going to keep my comments to myself.
They said, sir, I don't know where you think you are, but no. Please, please exit state. I'm just kidding. I didn't do that.
No, I'm just joking. But I do. Justin's futures, like, you know, I've been hearing about him for a couple years now, Justin.
Yeah, I just drop it in every once in a while. Now,
notice I did not bring back any future bets from Reno with me all day of games. So
because it was football season and you could. I was there in August.
Well, I could still do future bets. I could have put money on Jeanty to win the Heisman or Travis, but I was like, no, I'm not throwing. I'm not chasing bad money with stupid money.
What are the odds on that one?
G&T was 250 on the Heisman, plus 250. He still would have made money, but, you got to bet up a decent amount to get up there.
Who do you think's going to win it?
I mean, Travis Hunter.
You think Hunter's
I really do. I think it's a narrative award, and I think there's going to be maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's going to be just too many guys in this good old boys network that vote for the Heisman who are like, yeah, the two-way player at Colorado with Dion that we hear about all the time versus the running back up in Boise, Idaho.
So G&T's 230.
Now, G&T's amazing, and he's put up numbers that rival Barry Sanders. He's probably going to break that record. But there's a lot of game left. I'm not ready. People are ready to anoint him as the Heisman winner right now. Okay, go break Barry Sanders' record. Go do it for 6-7 more games. Yeah. We'll talk.
It's a good point.
Everyone's ready to give him the crown now.
Trying to predict the Heisman in August or in October is a fool's errand. It's even more foolish in August. Gabriel is sitting at plus 260. Dylan Gabriel's the second best odds. It's scored to FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan Gabriel's sneaky because if Oregon goes undefeated, I see him winning.
Hunter?
Over Hunter, for sure. If Oregon's undefeated.
He's third right now at plus 600. And here's why I think the odds are as such. Is there going to be a time where Travis Hunter gets dinged up, Colorado is out of the Big 12 race, and he makes a business decision and says, I ain't playing these last two games. I'm going to the draft.
That wouldn't surprise me.
That's why I think maybe there's some hesitancy there. Because he's right, though. We've never seen, I think, Champ Bailey, I think, was the last guy to play two ways, but he didn't play anywhere near the amount of snaps that Travis Hunter plays. But he got injured last year. He didn't finish the Kansas State game with the shoulder injury. Dion says he's playing this week. They got Arizona. I think they got Arizona this week. That many snaps and with that much potential NFL money at stake, I wonder if he finishes the season.
Yeah, I think he's a little better prepared for it this year than last, since he played all last year two ways and kind of got dinged up a little bit.
Also, it was one play, the Colorado State kid.
But you have to look at it objectively. Justin, he has almost 600 receiving yards already and 6 tutties, and then is arguably their best defensive player.
He's so good. He's so good. He is. He's the best player in college football.
The Heisman Trophy awards that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take anything away from G&T, but the question has to be asked, Justin. Would G&T be doing this if he was not playing a Mountain West schedule? And I think no one wants to say it.
It's a good question.
Question has to be asked. Because even Barry Sanders did it against the Big 12. Right?
Big 8.
Yeah. Okay.
Big 8.
Okay, fair. But you know what I mean.
But it was still
not the Mountain West.
It was Colorado, Nebraska.
It's not the Mountain West.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take anything away from a talented kid.
The thing that G&T has is he's got a game against the Cougs, he's got a game against the Beavs,
and then
what he did to Oregon.
Well, that's why I said, Justin, his last regular season game of the year is the Beavers, and they're terrible at stopping the run, so that can be his Heisman moment. We've already talked about that.
I know. That's that might be tough sledding. But no,
gotta be rough.
Travis Hunter's good. He's the best. He's one of the best I've ever seen. I do wonder, though, he's had some injuries, and that's a lot of snaps, so... coming up, we've got Make or Miss in hour number 2. We got a Hot Take Friday. We got some... Russell Wilson might be starting for the Steelers. Do Seahawks fans still hate Russell Wilson? We'll talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio.
7 a.m. on a Friday. Brendan Slaughter with you for Rip City Mornings. Cleveland walks off the Yankees with a 2-run home run to take Game 3 7-5 and push the series 2-1, while the Dodgers beat the Mets 10-2 to go up 3-1. Over in the NFL, the Broncos took down the Saints 33-10 in Sean Payton's return to New Orleans to improve to 4-3, while the Saints, injury-riddled as they are, fall to 2-5. The Oregon Ducks score off with Purdue tonight at 5 p.m., while Oregon State takes on UNLV Saturday at 7. Coming up in Hour 3 of the big show, we're going to catch up with Aaron Fentress, talk a whole bunch of topics. We got Make a Miss in Hour 2. You got Rip City Mornings, Hour 2 coming up.
Hi, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are all having a fantastic Friday. We are having a great time. It is a football Friday. Also, by the way, not to be outdone, baseball finally showed up in the American League Championship Series.
Were you watching it?
I was dual screening it.
I got the notification.
I have to so my YouTube TV, you get the multi-view, but not when it's on Prime Video. So when the football game is on Prime Video, one goes to the TV, one goes to the iPad, and then I'm also on Twitter too. It's Thursday night's kind of embarrassing, the amount of screens that I'm staring at, but I was watching baseball and I was watching the football game at the same time. Had started with the football game on the big screen. That game got out of hand real quick. Boy. And I don't wish this upon anybody. I really don't. It's and I'm sure his bank account is doing just fine. But Brendan, have we seen a fall like we have seen with Spencer Rattler from where he was at Oklahoma? Heisman, we're talking about Heisman. Wasn't Spencer Rattler going into that season 3 years ago a Heisman contender? He was a 5-star recruit starting at Oklahoma. He gets benched for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams goes on an incredible freshman year. Lincoln Riley would then go to USC and bring Caleb Williams with him. Spencer Rattler would go to South Carolina and then ultimately, I think, get drafted the 5th round, I think, and is now, he was a backup. I don't know how much longer he's going to be a backup because he got benched as a backup last night. Some of that might have to do with Denver's defense. Denver's defense is pretty good. And boy, those NFL defenses, especially the really good ones, like the Steelers, like the Broncos have, like the Jets have at times, when they sense a weak quarterback, oh boy.
Oh, I was thrilled.
Look out.
I was thrilled for this matchup, Justin, because the Denver defense got me a season high in points yesterday.
There you go.
So I was ready for them to play a team that didn't have Rashid Shaheed, didn't have Chris Olave, didn't have Derek Carr. Their only offensive weapon was Alvin Kamara, and you can't play 1 versus 11.
That's tough.
So, yeah, it's a bummer because, the Saints were kind of a feel-good story earlier in the year. We now look back and go, oh, yeah, the Cowboys suck and the Panthers suck. So their wins aren't even that impressive. So, I guess Justin and I kind of go back and forth with the Cowboys. He's not ready to cook them like I am. But
I don't think the Cowboys are good. Hear me out and hear me well. I do not believe the Cowboys are good. I have no faith in anyone else in that division.
That's fair.
I think that might end up being the worst division in football because I do think the Buccaneers are good. I think the Buccaneers are good, which is holding up that division. The Falcons might be good too. But I think that might be the worst division in football. And
it might be.
And I think the Cowboys could, moonwalk their way into the playoffs by winning a very bad division, but yeah, I don't think they're very good though.
Yeah, and the fact I just love how all this is playing itself out for Jerry. Like I said, again, just to there, it's kind of like some of the like when we want the Lakers to lose and just have things kind of compile. It's like Yeah, a part of me is kind of entertained when Jerry had the opportunity to do the right thing and fire Mike McCarthy and restart last year when there were great candidates available. And yeah, to see the assistant that he let walk leading the division.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure that makes you feel good, Jerry.
And they've got I think C.J. Stroud is the best young quarterback. I would put young as in first 4 years of their career. Not yet gotten that contract. Still on a rookie deal. I would consider C.J. Stroud's the best young quarterback in the league. Jaden Daniels might be the second. In terms of quarterbacks on a rookie deal. Is Jaden Daniels better than Brock Purdy? Ooh.
Not until he proves he can take him to the post.
Should we first take it?
Yeah.
Is Jaden Daniels, who would you rather have, Purdy or Jaden? I mean, Brock Purdy has played in 2 NFC Championship games and a Super Bowl. And Jaden Daniels has played 6 NFL games. But he's exciting. He's fun to watch. He really is.
But that being said, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that division shakes itself out. But Jaden Daniels has looked the part, man. And again, you forget that Dan Quinn's there. You forget Kyle Shanahan's the offense. Like they quietly built a good staff. All that stuff.
It's interesting talking about Spencer Rattler. It's funny because you go to the 2020 stats and like Pac-12 teams have significantly less numbers than say Big 12 teams because Oklahoma played 11 games in 2020. 28 touchdowns to 7 picks in 2020. Going into 21, he was a 5-star recruit. Wasn't he? He was on that Netflix show, the QB1, with him and Dorian Thompson-Robinson and who was the other guy that ended up at Miami and then transferred like 4?
Was it Van Dyke? No.
Tate something?
Oh, Tate Martell.
Tate Martell? Yeah, that was a crazy show. But yeah, and then Spencer Rattler it never quite stuck, got benched for Caleb Williams, went to South Carolina. Okay at South Carolina, and then, man, he looked bad. He looked bad last night.
I mean, it's rookies can happen to rookies. They really can. And, I think again, the one thing that's going to go very well, let's flip it on the other way, Justin, is it's going to serve Bo Nix extremely well throughout the course of this season that Broncos have an elite defense. I think after last night, they might have their, at minimum, coming into last night, they were top 5, probably pushing the Steelers for the top defense after last night. And, hey, if you got a rookie quarterback and you got an elite defense, look, the Steelers are 4-2 with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Mostly because of their elite defense. Like, Justin, look back and tell me, does any of those Steelers wins, you look back and go, man, Fields got it done? Or is it, hey, TJ Watt's doing TJ Watt stuff?
So right now, yards per game, which, I don't know, what's your stat that you would say best defense? Is it
points?
Yards?
I go points.
Points.
I don't emphasize points as yards as much as points.
Points per game?
Those good NFL defenses know how to keep you out of the end zone when it matters.
Believe it or not, Chargers, number 1 defense in points per game, only giving up 13. Steelers right behind them at 14. Broncos right behind them at 15.1. 15.2 points per game, number 4 defense in the NFL. Any guess? I would not have guessed it.
Seahawks?
No.
No? Okay, I know they've slipped a little bit. Chiefs.
Chiefs are 6.
Darn, I thought I'd get that one. Okay, then I couldn't guess.
Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a reason why they're undefeated.
Yeah, that'll help when you're 5-0, right? It's a good point.
Sam Darnold's getting all the shine, as he should, and Justin Jefferson's getting all the shine. They're 4th in scoring defense right now. That probably is why they're undefeated.
So, yeah, if you can keep teams out of the end zone, and that's what I've noticed. That's kind of been a thing in the NFL now, Justin, is these teams who are defensively like, yeah, we'll give you all the yards you want between the 20s. We're just going to tighten up in the red zone. And I've seen that kind of really become – and I just wonder with the amount of skill positions on offense, guys like Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, NFL defensive coordinators are like acquiescing, going, yeah, we're going to give up some yards. It's going to happen.
And I think that's why the Steelers are making a quarterback change. Couple of reasons. I said it earlier, and I believe it. These deals that are made – Russell Wilson could have signed with a handful of teams, right? Because he could have signed for, he was signed for the league minimum. He could have signed for any handful of teams.
Were there multiple teams bidding for his services?
At $1.5 million, I think so.
Yeah.
I got to imagine there were. And obviously the Steelers were the best fit. I still think they're the best fit if he's healthy, because the Steelers were in a weird QB situation. But I got to imagine the deal was made that Russell's a weirdo, but he's not dumb. And I got to imagine the deal was made that I am your starting quarterback. That I don't think it's on paper, but Mike Tomlin, handshake, you're going to be in and be our quarterback. Because I don't know why you replace a quarterback that's 4-2. But again, Justin Fields is not thrown. I think he's thrown over 200 yards once this year. And exactly what you were talking about, they can move the ball a little bit, but they get into the red zone, they don't score touchdowns. And the reason I believe that the Steelers are having success is, one, as much as I hate to say it, they ain't played nobody, Paul. They got wins against the Raiders, the Chargers, okay. Broncos, rookie quarterback, and they only scored 13 points to beat them. And that disastrous Week 1 Falcons game. But I think the fact that they just weren't scoring touchdowns, and
I think that's a fair point.
But I also believe, I don't know, and look, I follow a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers people on X. I know a handful of people who cover the Pittsburgh Steelers. None of them are saying it, but I got to believe that Russell Wilson signed the deal with the Steelers with the understanding that he would be the starting quarterback. Because he signed before Justin Fields was traded for, and then the Steelers were like, we get Justin Fields for like a 4th rounder and still keep him on a rookie deal? Yeah. We'll take that as a backup because Russ has had some injury issues. What a way for Russ to debut for the Steelers, though. Sunday Night Football against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets.
Well, and
what a debut.
Well, and the tricky part about this, Justin, for the Steelers, and we'll wrap this up quickly before we get to make or miss, is they're going to be playing a Jets team that is extremely motivated. They're going to be playing a Jets team that, again, I don't know if this was brought into the if this was like what do you call it? Factored into Mike Tomlin's decision making, but the reality of it is the Jets, for all their struggles, probably still have the best secondary in football.
Yeah,
like that is Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, and I forget their safety. They have probably got the best back in football. So is that to hope that Russ can ignite your passing game a little bit? Are they going to lean into the running game and give Najee and crew 30-some carry? It's interesting because
it's like which Russ is going to show up? Is it the Russ from last year that had 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions? Not so bad. Or the Russ of 2022, which was 16 touchdowns to 11 interceptions? Or is it the Russ of 2019, which is not that long ago? Maybe I'm talking myself. 66%, threw for over 4,000 yards, 31 touchdowns to 5 picks.
You're asking him to do something that was 5 years ago?
It's not that long ago, Brendan. Not that long ago.
It's like pre-COVID, before.
COVID does not affect Russell Wilson's
It's like before
accuracy.
Christ, after Christ, man. We look at it in those contexts.
BC
and AC,
COVID
man.
and vaccines and masks have nothing to do with Russell Wilson's accuracy. He can bring it back. I'm fairly certain of that. All right, we've got Make or Miss next, 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, Trailblazers opening night is set for October the 23rd versus the Golden State Warriors. Tickets are on sale now. Visit trailblazers.com/tickets to plan your trip to Rip City to experience the opening night tip-off of the 2024/2025 Trailblazers season at the Moda Center. Basketball is back. Let's go Blazers as they take on the Warriors on October the 23rd. Also, that music you just heard, that's Sandstorm. That's the intro for South Carolina. South Carolina coached by Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer's dad coached at Virginia Tech, Frank Beamer, for years. And Virginia Tech, who played last night, Brendan, they run out of the tunnel to enter Sandman, and it is one of the coolest things in sports. Unfortunately, Virginia Tech really hasn't been all that great lately, and I'm watching it last night because I was flipping around. I was flipping around for baseball. I was flipping around NFL. I was like watching a little college football. Thursdays, my wife has an appointment, and so I get to, just kind of, not that I have to get her permission, but it's just I get a chance to veg out on the couch a little bit. And so I'm watching Virginia, and I'm like thinking, man, I want Virginia Tech to be good again. Just for big game, Blacksburg, Virginia, enter Sandman. Like, those vibes need to come back. It's been a minute. I want them to be good. Is there a team out there in college football that is not obviously your team, or a West Coast? Is there a team out there where you're like, man, can they just get good again? Because it's fun. It's fun when they're good again.
Hawaii.
Yeah, let's get Hawaii good again.
Hawaii.
Well,
they're
Mountain West, though. Do you hate them?
No, because it's an impossible place to hate.
Okay, got it.
So, again, you have to remember, my
you
stuff...
do love the islands.
Well, you said, remember, my stuff is entirely like, how was my experience when I was there? So it's
let's get Hawaii scoring like 64 points a game.
So in a way, Justin, like Nevada, Reno is dead to me. Like I may never go back to the city of Reno. Like it's just dead to me. Bad experiences, just like it's dead to me. Now Hawaii. I've had some tougher Beaver games there too, but pretty tough to be mad at the islands though. So I would love to see, and they have one of their own now. Tommy Chang, their record-setting quarterback when he was there.
Timmy Chang.
Or excuse me, Timmy Chang.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there and
Tommy Chong? He was it was one part of Cheech and Chong.
Okay, that must. I apologize.
Cheech and Chong.
I apologize.
Which, I think your parents would know about. I'm sure you probably don't have any reference to Cheech and Chong.
Very little, other than the culture.
Dave's not here, man.
Yeah, other than the culture of it. But no, I think again.
Dave's not here, man.
Timmy Chang was the Hawaii quarterback before the one that I was familiar with. Colt Brennan, who is no longer with us. But yeah, I mean, there was, like I said, there was nothing more fun than when the Beavers were done, Justin. I get back from a long car ride back from Corvallis circa 2006.
Yeah, like at 9 p.m. West Coast.
Yeah, and Hawaii's on.
Hawaii kickoff.
Yeah, like Hawaii's on, man. And they were, again, Hawaii, June Jones, the run and shoot. Like, again, I did a lot of research into UNLV this week. UNLV pulled themselves out of the primordial ooze, Justin. They've been to bowl games 2 times in, I think, 25 years.
Yes, it's been rough.
Like, UNLV is a career 38% win percentage. It is bad. Like, they have been bad. And Barry Odom's come in with Brennan Marion as offensive coordinator and a unique offense. And in 2 years, they've been like, the culture is fixed. So if it can be done that fast, it can be done in a place like Hawaii, too, man. So I want to see it happen. Like, save me, Fresno State can go away for a little while. Boise can go. No, I don't know. I'm just saying.
There is going to be a team, and maybe it's going to be Hawaii, maybe it's going to be UNLV. Heck, maybe it'll be Boise. It might be the Beavs. I don't know. There's going to be a handful of teams because I do think with the NIL transfer stuff, you're going to see players much like Ashton Genty who are going to get overlooked, who are going to fall through the cracks. There are going to be. We've seen it. How many times have we seen, like we talked about Spencer Rattler? Spencer Rattler was, I want to say, the number 1 quarterback in high school. If not number 1, he was at least top 3. And I'm sure there is somebody on that, and that he was number 5. Who,
like 5-star consensus. You're right. Per Rivals, which is the only one we look at.
It's true. Who was number 1 Rivals that year?
Spencer Rattler.
Oh, he was number one.
at
Okay, who
quarterback.
was number two? Do you have the list?
I'm gonna let you guess.
Okay, what year is this? What year is this?
2019.
2019.
He's in the NFL. We just talked about him for an hour.
Brock Purdy?
No, the other guy. He said who?
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels is number 2 on the list.
And then a whole bunch of guys I haven't heard of.
Let's hear him.
DeJuan Mathis went to Georgia.
Okay, never heard from again.
Some guy I can't pronounce his last name. Not going to try.
Mm-hmm.
He went to Clemson, but clearly not making it work there. KJ Jefferson signed with Arkansas.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
Jordan Yates.
Don't remember him at all.
Garrett Schrader.
That was also going into 2020, right? That was like a weird year.
Yeah, Tua's brother, Talia.
Went to Maryland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Dylan Gabriel was 15th on that list. Okay, so let's just
Dylan
settle
Gabriel,
that
who
down.
will be throwing touchdowns, hopefully lots of them, for the Ducks tonight. Same recruiting class as Spencer Rattler, who was playing for the Saints.
And Spencer
last
Rattler was number 1.
Yeah.
But God, football is weird.
But do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's going to be guys that fall through the cracks in this NIL stuff because these boosters and these collectives are going to get 5-star happy, and they're going to miss out on guys. And whether it's a Genty or, or even a guy like Dylan Gabriel, who like ended up at what, Central Florida, I think.
Central Florida to Oklahoma to
Yeah, but like he was a top 10 recruit, but he wasn't. And it like those guys you were talking about going to Georgia and going to Arkansas and all those places, and a team that is going to be able to pick up those guys, the overlooked guys. There's going to be a chance to make some noise in college football, not just with bringing in big money players. I really believe that.
Yeah, I mean, and just for what it's worth, before we open up Make or Miss, because we have a second, Justin. The next year is even worse. 2020 dual threat quarterback rankings, it's even worse. So Bryce Young, number 1.
Boom. DJU?
No, I think he was a couple years Why
do you think Bryce Young and DJU were the same class?
Maybe, no. I think DJU was 2021, maybe?
Okay.
No, even that's not.
CJ Stroud?
No. So number 2 comes in as Luke Doty. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He ended up at South Carolina.
Okay.
Number 3 is Hudson Card. He just got benched at Purdue.
He did.
After getting benched at Texas.
Yeah.
So, out the pool.
How many guys has Texas run out of there, man?
Yeah?
Because who's the guy at Duke now?
Oh, Malik Murphy.
He was there at Texas.
Yep, and the Beavers kicked the tires on both those guys.
They kicked out Cam Rising. Texas loves running quarterbacks out of town, don't they?
Number 5 was Jaquindon Jackson. He is now a running back. So
where's he at? Do we know?
I believe he went to Utah and then now is at Arkansas.
Okay.
Number 6, Anthony Richardson. He's in the NFL.
There you go.
And number 7, Jaden DeLora. Whatever happened to him?
Jaden DeLora.
He had some issues. Went to Arizona, and then Noah Fafita said, "You're not getting this job back."
No, thank you. You're done. Yeah.
And then Chuba Purdy, who I just saw play for Nevada this last weekend. So football's an interesting game.
Is Brock Purdy's brother?
Yeah. You can be.
His name's Chuba?
Yes.
How do you go from Brock, fairly normal name,
to
Chuba? Is Chuba a nickname?
I don't know. But so Nevada crushed Oregon State with their starting quarterback so much they're like, yeah, let's put Chuba in for the last drive.
So he's a backup?
Yeah. All right. And he was top 10 dual threat quarterback.
Where did he go to Nevada out of high school?
No, he ended up.
Did he go to Iowa State like Brock did?
No, he had a couple stops. He ended up at a couple. I forget where he signed. But then ultimately, like Nevada's his third school. It's just crazy.
Can I tell you something? And I know I want to get to make or miss because
this is a fun conversation.
And I know it's not good for the listening audience either. I could do this for 3 hours. I could hear you rattle off quarterback rankings from high school for 3 hours. I could do this. I know we're not going to. Don't turn it to Dan Patrick. But I could rattle off. I could hear you rattle off quarterback names for like 3 hours. Right now, though, because I'm for the listeners as I work for you guys. Let's dive into Make or Miss. I don't know what I like more, reading off recruiting rankings or reading off schedules. I don't know which I like more.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
I love them both.
Not gonna lie.
I love them both.
Like to Justin's point,
or going back and talking about Oregon football from 15 years ago.
Yes.
I really love doing that.
Yes, I do have make or miss ready to go, but I've been obsessed. I've been obsessed with this. So last one, I promise. The next year, Justin, 2021. Talk about the difference in players. Number 1, Caleb Williams. All right, that's pretty fair. Number 1 pick.
Worked. You won a Heisman. He's number 1 overall pick. They got that one right.
Number 2, Ty Thompson. Ahead of Jalen Milroe.
You know, it's funny because everything we heard about Ty Thompson was that he is like an elite level athlete.
He was the only other 5 in that class. There were 2 5s in that class, Caleb and Ty, which is just crazy. Jalen Milroe was a 4.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart was a 4.
Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, that's a good class.
Isn't it? Right? You're like,
it's a good class.
Yep.
And if Ty Thompson never went to Oregon, I would never know who he was.
No, and that's why I said I still think the kid's got talent. Like, I forget.
Like, if he went to UCLA, and I don't know if I'd ever know who he was.
Yeah, he ended up at the Tulane Green Wave.
Yeah, he's not playing, though, I don't think.
No, only has 74 passing yards this year.
Yeah, he's not playing.
So why do you transfer somewhere if you don't play? Let's open make or miss with this.
Yeah.
Why? Like very much like, actually, no, I'll say this, Justin. Like, how desirable do you think Matthew Sluka is going to be in the transfer portal this offseason? The kid who was at UNLV.
Yeah, I don't think I'm very desirable at all.
You think he's done?
I don't think he's done. I think he'll be able to go somewhere.
Well, if
and
you're
maybe,
like, say you're like Oregon State.
But
like
yesterday, he was from Holy Cross, right?
Yeah, like yesterday you threw out if Cam Rising went to the portal, and I said, I don't see that. But like, say like someone like Matthew Sluka is available. Does Oregon State kick the tires on a guy like that?
Do you have 100K?
Well, yes. For Oregon State, we can manage 100K. Damian Martinez was making.
Yeah, you just get Damian Martinez's uncollected checks, like the canceled.
Well, here's the thing: is like I also feel like now in NIL, just you should be like, hey, you're hurt, so can we use your money and move it around? Mm-hmm. Like that should be the future of NIL: is have injury clauses in those NIL contracts and be like, so if you get hurt, we can temporarily move your money to someone who's on the active roster. So is that messed up?
No.
Like,
it is the Wild West right now, right? You can do whatever you want. I think the biggest worry of doing something like that, though, is you don't want to get a reputation of like, yeah, they'll screw you out of your money, and then nobody goes there, and people will use that against you in recruiting. Let's get back to this quarterback conversation because it's fascinating. I think, like Bo Nix, like DJU, like before Florida State, DJU coming to Oregon State. Like Dylan Gabriel, like Will Howard, I believe there is the top-tier quarterbacks go into a transfer with an understanding that you shall be the starter. Jackson Dart went to Ole Miss because he was going to start. He wasn't going to leave USC to not start at Ole Miss when Caleb Williams transferred in. So I think there's that. Then there is the second tier of guys who maybe believe that they're going to be the starter. Because we've talked about this with recruiting, is that, Oregon had 100 recruits that Ohio State game. Like, what if they lost? It's like, none of them care. Because every high school player believes that when they get there, they'll be the difference. Oh, they lost, but you know what? If I go there, I'll be the difference, and then we'll win when I'm there. And I think there are some quarterbacks that are like, okay, yeah, I know they said, wink, you'll be in competition, but I'm a 5-star quarterback. No competition for me. And you go there, and then you're like, oh, I'm benched again. But I do think the top-tier transfer guys, like Gabriel, like Bo Nix before him, go in with an understanding that, like, yeah, Michael Penix went to Washington knowing he was going to be the starter. They could say all they want, it's Dylan Morris, and no, Michael Penix is going to be the starter. They knew that going in.
Maybe it was Dylan Morris went 4-8 as a starter the year before.
Might have been that too.
Or the fact that, again, before that, everyone said that, Sam Heward was going to be the next coming, and Polides at Cal Poly now. So
wish him the best. Love
funny
that family.
how that works.
I love that family, though. They're very nice people.
Solid, but when you're rated as the next coming of,
Well, it's the tough part of recruiting because these kids don't go, hey, make me a 5-star. some
I'm
of
going
them
to push back on that
All
and
right.
say a little bit because
they go to all the camps and stuff.
yes.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, Justin, there are a lot of kids who come from, and again, I don't want to make assumptions about the Heward family, but I think 1 + 1 = 2. Heward family probably not hard pressed for finances.
Nah, they're
You
good.
usually find out that the kids who are ranked highest go to all these
I think
rivals
Sam's-
247 camps.
Sam's dad was Damon Heward, and I think Damon Heward played like 9 years in the NFL.
No, and I'm not judging, but like
Yeah.
I knew that from a kid that I knew locally here who started his career up at Eastern Washington and then ultimately transferred to Washington State from McMinnville here was like, and the reason he wasn't rated highly coming out of high school is he's like, yeah, I didn't go to any of the camps because I was playing basketball and baseball.
That was Justin Herbert.
Right. Exactly.
Justin Herbert was a low 3-star.
Exactly.
Who
So-
only offer
Exactly.
was Idaho, I believe.
Exactly.
And Justin Herbert then Helfrich, kind of as a favor, was like, yeah, we'll take the quarterback from Sheldon. Maybe he'll hold for because Herbert broke his arm his junior year
Right,
and didn't
right.
do any of the stuff in the summer. And then his senior year wanted to play other sports, and so Helfrich was like, yeah, and so there was a kid before Justin Herbert named Taylor Alley.
I remember Taylor.
Taylor Alley, great kid, and it was like that. It was like he was the quarterback at Sheldon. He'll come, he'll hold for extra points. You know, maybe when they beat Georgia State by 70, he'll get some snaps in. And that was going to be Justin Herbert, and then Justin Herbert got to camp, and they're like, he's our best player. Should we start him? Nah, we got Dakota Prukop transferring in. Yeah, but Herbert's our best player.
Yeah, no, I think
Because there's the whole camp thing.
Yeah, I think it's, again, I kind of live this world because I know how these guys, you go to these rivals 247 on 3 camps and, you schmooze these people who are in.
There is a whole process to it.
And then,
And then coaches get involved, and then certain coaches want maybe a college job. And then
so like when I
it's such a weird world.
Yeah, so like when I see, I love the stories of like, I'm trying to think who the best example is. You look at like, a guy for what it's worth, like Oregon State, Giovanni McCoy. Don't even think he was hardly rated coming out of high school. Idaho wanted to turn him into a defensive back.
Yeah.
And now he's playing quarterback for Oregon State, right?
I think the best example of that is Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson was like, Louisville was the only school that offered him as a quarterback. It's like a couple MVPs in the NFL later. Bet you'd like to have him now, Florida.
You mentioned that, I want to see if this. Yeah, okay. So, for example, Will Howard, Ohio State, 3-star going into Kansas State, man.
Yeah.
And he's starting for top 10 team in the country. Not top 5 no more, but top 10.
Well, I think they are still.
Are
I think
they? Did they not fall?
You lose by 1 point on the road to the number 3 team. I don't think you should fall very much.
All right, let's get to 1 before we close
Okay.
down, Justin. Someone might want to tell Mike McCarthy he controls practices, Justin.
What did I miss?
So McCarthy says we're not practicing hard enough.
Well,
someone might want to tell him, hey, Mike, you control practices. Just saying.
He does.
And Dak says we have to practice harder, Justin.
So Dak is critical. Like, this is what happens when you pay everybody. I mean, it's true. Like, this is what happens in the NFL when you pay everybody. A lot of guys get fat. Some guys get extra motivated, and those are the guys you want in your organization. Some guys get fat and happy. I don't know what kind of guy CeeDee Lamb is, but yeah. Start cracking skulls. I don't know. How do you convince?
I don't think you could. Can you? Crack
How do you
skulls?
convince multimillionaires to practice harder
When they make more than you and they go, hey, you're a lame duck. You're not going to be our coach next year. Like, I know no one's saying that, but these guys are thinking it. There's at least 2 or 3 guys, Justin, on the Cowboys right now who are like, I got paid. Bill's going to be in here next year.
Yeah.
Just now have checked out. I don't doubt there's guys in Dallas who have checked out and are like, we're injured, we're hurt. Mike McCarthy's a walking duck. I just don't see it.
All right, coming up, it is Friday. We got some spicy hot takes to wrap up hour number 2. That is next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, it is time to wrap up hour number 2. And while it is a feel-good Friday, and it is a fancy coffee Friday to all those who choose to participate, it is also a football Friday. We'll get back into football discussion coming up in hour number 3. Aaron Fentress is going to join us. When does gamesmanship cross the line into cheating? Fentress believes that Oregon cheated on Saturday against Ohio State. He is on a very lonely island there, which he, I think, is very comfortable with. But excited to have Fentress come in because it's going to be fun. He brings the spice of life to this show, and we like to spice things up as well because in this particular part, while it's getting a little gray and
Fentress does have a castaway mentality to him.
Really does.
In terms of just my opinions, and I respect it.
What
he rides for him, man.
Isn't it the Jon Snow against like the entire army? Like that is
when he pulls out the sword.
That is Fentress. That's what he does. And
it's true.
You know what?
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing is it's not an act. It's
You're like it's not, folks. I promise.
It's not an act, and it's like so. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna play our. We ran through, remember on Wednesday we ran through the what is cheating and what is not? So I'll throw that out coming up in hour number 3. But we need to get some hot takes. It's time to spice it up a little bit. Whether it is about sports or not sports. I have a non-sports hot take. But before we get to it, let's open it up. It's time for Hot Take Friday. Here we go. I'm sampling this hot take. I heard it somewhere on the internet, and I am repurposing it as my own. But I believe in it so much, and also because I had a car behind me honk, not at me, but honk around me to the car in front of me, who wasn't quite as quick on the green light. But I don't know if you're the third car in line, if you should be able to. Cars should have a limited amount of honks in them. And once you are out of honks, you should have to go to the dealership to have them reloaded. And you have to give a reason why. Why'd you go through 87 or what? I don't know what the number would be. But I think cars, there are little people too fast and loose with the honking. And I think people tune them out. And also, when I had my car totaled about 2.5 weeks ago, I was honking. Did that person hear it? No. Was it because they tuned it out? I don't know. Maybe they were also panicking in the whole situation. But, Brendan, we should have limited amount of honks with cars. You should have your honks loaded up. You can have it displayed on the dash, just like you have like your gas gauge. Like you're halfway through your honks. Are you sure you want to be in third place in the green light and waste one of your on one of those? That's my hot take. We need to have honk limits on cars.
Wow.
Yeah. It's spicy. It's out there. But it's just
I hate that.
You hate it.
I hate it
You honk a ton, don't you?
I do.
You lay on the horn,
I
don't
do,
you?
because
you just get fast and loose and just I could see it.
Oh yeah, because again, if I had $1 for
you can see the rage in your eyes.
If I had $1 for every time on my drive home, again, Oregon has to lead the nation in people who in the fast lane don't go the speed limit. Like I compare it to just like, it's like, oh yeah, it's 55. Hurt the dur. I'm just gonna go 45 here because the person in the right lane's going 40, so this is faster. And it's just like, I'm done with it.
I used to think that, and then I moved to Seattle. They're way worse up there.
Okay,
they're way worse.
Regardless,
maybe
Justin,
it's Pacific Northwest thing. Maybe it's something to do with the gray skies and the rain.
I
don't know.
let people know my emotions with my thumb being down and my horn. So
get thumb down instead of middle finger up.
Yeah, I told you I changed that. My brother got me into that because it's more just like so you can look at somebody and just go, I am so disappointed
it's
in
more
you.
judgment than anger.
Yes.
Like just
you stink.
Chuck Norris at the dodgeball, Brendan driving, thumbs
you
down.
Stink, man. I gave someone the other day, I was like, thumbs down,
let me ask you, because I
so, Joe,
I don't honk my horn very often. I I don't.
I'd say probably
I do
twice
it-
a week for me.
I do it as a warning, like, hey, you have to be at the green light a long time.
Okay, so
before-
let me give you an example. So someone pulls out in front of you. Are you not slamming on that?
if they're about to hit me,
No, if they pull out in front of you, you have to change how, like, my thing is I do it anytime I'm on a straightaway going 45, 50, someone pulls out in front of me, and then I have to slow down for them.
you honk during that?
Oh, yeah. Don't pull out in front of me when I'm going. Kidding me?
Yeah, I don't
Wait
do
for
that.
an opening gap.
Yeah, I don't do that.
All right, well, fair enough.
So you honk once a week,
Probably.
at bare minimum.
Probably.
Once a week.
Don't cut me off, man.
Uh,
I'm driving within the bounds of the law. I'm not saying that, but you're going to hear it if you get in my way.
oh, man. All right. We are obviously diametrically opposed. I feel like
Which, hey, that's the fun of it.
I feel like people are getting a little too fast in
But
this
I hear you.
with the
I mean,
honks.
Justin, you're looking at me because I might have to go recharge my horns.
It's going to cost.
It cost your boy over here.
You could either pay for the more honks, or you could maybe you like at the NCAA fill out a hardship. You're like, listen, this is where I live. I'm honking 2-3 times a day.
Hardship. Medical red shirt for the horn.
I will say, there was a street I was on. There was a flagger, which with the slow stop, and it clearly marked flagger ahead.
Oh no, yeah.
At least 8 cars in a line. Car in front of me goes left and tries to bypass, and then is so shocked that there's somebody there with a stop.
Now again, stuff like that.
They got some honks.
Yeah, like stuff like that.
And some
totally.
dirty looks.
I'll play by. I'm not speeding through no construction.
No, I'm
zone.
not saying you. I'm saying that
yeah.
would warrant a year out of line honk for me.
But like, say you're going 60, because there's a specific route where I go where I'm going 60 going home on 55 and a 55.
Yeah.
And there's like a light, like a T where someone, if there's clear, can pull out in front of you. And, someone pulls out, they're going, 30, 25 when they pull around the corner, and I'm going 60. Like, that's putting on my brakes.
Yeah. You like that horn. I feel like it should be horn limits. All right. Coming up, we have got Aaron Fentress. We've got RCM Mailbag. More stuff on a Football Friday next, 620 Rip City Radio.
8 a.m. on a Friday. Brendan Slaughter with you for Rip City Mornings. Cleveland walks off the Yankees with a 2-run homer to take Game 3 7-5 and push the series to 2-1, while the Dodgers beat the Mets 10-2 to go up 3-1. Over in the NFL, the Broncos take down the Saints and Sean Payton's return to New Orleans. They improve to 4-3, while the injury-riddled Saints fall to 2-5. And in college football, the Oregon Ducks square off with Purdue tonight at 5 o'clock, while Oregon State takes on UNLV Saturday at Reser Stadium at 7. Coming up here in about 20 minutes, we're going to catch up with Aaron Fentress, Trailblazers reporter, maybe get his thoughts on the 4-2 Bears. Is he happy?
He's too busy being mad about the Ducks playing 12 guys.
And that too. All that and more. Final hour Rip City Mornings on a Friday.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. I hope you are all having a fantastic Friday. If you are new to the program, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you like what you hear, would you mind telling a friend? Just you slip it into conversation. Hey, by the way, I know you drive to work in the morning. Have you tried? Either way, you guys figure it out. But would you mind telling a friend? That'd be fantastic. If you are a returning customer, hey, welcome back. Thanks for hanging out with us for just a little bit or a lot of your time. We appreciate each and every one of you. Fentress going to be on the show in 20 minutes. When does gamesmanship become cheating? Did Oregon cheat on Saturday when they threw 12 men out on the field? Is it an indictment against Dan Lanning that the NCAA within 4 days had changed the rule to where you can no longer do what Oregon did? Or is it gamesmanship? Was it even truly on purpose? There are some, Pat Forty, who are saying this might be a happy accident and that Oregon may have not intentionally played 12 men on the field, and that when the world is calling you a genius, well, you don't interrupt them. So a lot of fun stuff to dive into with Fentress. It is going to be spirited, but also all within good fun. We also have an RCM mailbag. Friday night.
Do you think he's ready to be hurt again as a Bears fan now that you've got a winning record? For the first time in, 40 years, you've got a franchise quarterback.
Weren't they winning at the early part of last year? And then Fields just fell apart?
Yeah. Maybe that's Mike Tomlin's getting ahead of the game, dude.
Maybe.
He's like, hey, I've seen this movie before.
Well,
but no, I think if you're a Fentress, you got to, like you said, you might argue about the Duck thing, but I think you got to be real happy about the Bears. They've kind of been a surprise to the NFL, and Eberflus is keeping his job.
For now. Well,
Justin, for now.
For now. It's interesting. Throughout the entire time, I have been saying, as soon as Russell Wilson gets healthy, he needs to be starting for the Steelers. I've watched Justin Fields, and I like Justin Fields. And then all the reporting that has been coming out has been like, the Steelers and the locker room and they love Justin Fields. And I'm like, usually when a quarterback's not throwing for over 200 yards a game, you don't find a lot of love in the locker room. You know what I mean? You have grown men with their jobs and their livelihoods on the line, all on your shoulders. And if you are not producing, well, boy, a locker room can turn on you real fast. And all reports have indicated that Justin Fields is beloved in the Steelers locker. And I'm just like, what is... And then I saw his reaction, and it's being played on ESPN right now. The audio is not very good, but I'll what do they say?
Paraphrase.
Oh, thank you very much. Paraphrase. I'll paraphrase.
You were on the Titanic without a life preserver right there.
Every once in a while, as you get out there,
gotta throw one, man.
Right.
We have enough lifeboats on this radio show.
Well,
so no one drowns, Justin. We got you.
Not for the poor people down low. They're not getting on these lifeboats. They're going out half full. Who cares? All right. So to paraphrase, he was asked about it, and a lot of guys would be like, I remember when Drew Bledsoe lost his job to Tom Brady, and you go back and watch that clip, and he's like, I look forward to winning my job back. It was my job. And he was understandably upset. Justin Fields came out and was like, I haven't been good enough. It's like, if I have been good enough, if I had been doing enough, this would not even be an issue. He had 6 weeks to win the job, and he didn't do it. And to his credit, he came to the microphone like a professional and said, Yeah, I didn't do enough. I would have liked to have played better. And when you see stuff like that, you go like, all right, I get why his teammates love him. You do. I get why his teammates love him. He is not the right quarterback for this team right now. But I hope with that kind of understanding and attitude that maybe he will be for the future. I don't know. I also worry that, Brendan, Justin Fields has now lost 2 starting jobs in the NFL. Say what you will about, like, he lost this job. If he was throwing for 250 a game and a touchdown and a half and they were 4-2, he didn't lose the job. The fact of the matter is he's just not been playing well enough. And he has now lost 2 starting jobs. I don't know if he gets a third. We'll see. So we got that going on. Oregon plays on a Friday night. Now, since the beginning of this whole let's play college football on Friday night thing started, I have hated it. I do not like it. I am not a fan. But
for what it's worth, I gladly would trade for you this week. Would you like to play 7 o'clock Saturday?
No.
We'll take tonight?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I was going to get to the silver lining on that dark cloud, though. The fact that it is Purdue, the fact that it is Oregon is a 28.5, as I think the last time I saw it, 28.5 point favorite in the game. I do like 29.5 now. Number keeps going up. I will say I do like the fact that I'm going to have all day Saturday to be able to watch Miami-Louisville kick off at 9 a.m. Nebraska-Indiana. That's going to be an interesting game. Alabama-Tennessee. See, now this is where, again, I know I've been opposed to the 12-team playoff, but we live in this world now. This is the good part of the 12-team playoff. Brendan, is Alabama-Tennessee an elimination game? Alabama with a loss to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And Tennessee, they lost to Arkansas. That's right, because Nico Iamaleava ran out of bounds. Like, not quite. Which one was worse, Iamaleava or Will Howard? Which one was worse?
For what it's worth, I didn't see the Will Howard play.
Okay. He may have gotten into field goal range, but was 1 second late on the slide. He took off running with 6 seconds to go in the game.
Yeah,
Iamaleava, I believe it was a 4th down play, and he ran out of bounds. That one's worse.
Yeah, I would
worse.
say I'll give the benefit of the doubt to you, but Justin, you can't be surprised. I came back on Monday. Watching the Oregon game was not in my...
Well, I figured there was a gajillion clips on the internet. I figured maybe one of them might have popped onto your algorithm.
It wasn't something I really wanted to reach for. I'm not going to lie.
Did you go social media blackout?
A little bit. Again, my team lost and your team beat a top 5 team. So, yeah, I didn't really look at social media.
When you go social media blackout, like, where do you go? Do you go, like, deep dive YouTube clips?
Well,
this
weekend
it was
it was particularly easy because I could just turn my phone off and gamble. But normally... I don't normally do that, Justin, but when you're in a place like Reno, it's like, oh, okay, my team lost. Yeah, I don't need to really look at my phone until Monday. Cool.
So Alabama has lost to Vanderbilt. Tennessee has a loss to Arkansas. This game's
I think you're right. I think it
at
is.
Tennessee. This might be an elimination game.
No, I agree with that. I think it is.
Neither one of these teams I don't know if they get into the playoff at 10-2 because I think the ACC's getting 2 teams. I think Miami and Clemson are both going.
I mean, it's not. I
think they're both going.
It's not written in stone. Like 2 losses doesn't mean you're 100% out of it. So it's going to be tough, but I don't want to say if anyone's eliminated because you never know how things play out over the final 6-7 weeks.
But it feels like an elimination game, I think, at this point. Like if you lose this game, either Alabama or Tennessee, especially Alabama, because you have Vanderbilt as your loss, even though you've got a Georgia win. You then leave it up to a committee as opposed to kind of controlling your own destiny. Mentioned it. LSU at Arkansas. Watch out for that one. LSU's a 2.5 point favorite. Is that, if I say upset alert, is that cheap? A 2.5 point favorite? Because LSU is going to Arkansas coming off of the overtime game against Ole Miss. This has got trap game written all over it, even though it's 2.5 point spread. So it's not really a trap game. But LSU is ranked 8th. Arkansas unranked. Well, watch out for that one. And then, of course, you got Georgia, Texas at 4:30. So there's some interesting games in the top 25 with, like I said, some playoff implications, right? So while I do not like Oregon playing on the road 3 time zones away, because, Brendan, I learned this when I went to Indianapolis, which I believe is right next to West Lafayette. They are in the East time zone. Did not realize that.
Your boy
Thought it was Central. Learned, nope, East Coast.
Yeah, your boy went to Indianapolis like 8-9 years ago.
Yeah.
I learned that. I knew that.
Did you know that going in, though?
Yeah, I did know that going because going in 2016 or going?
Yeah.
I found it out then.
Yeah,
because
I was getting tickets for Big Ten Media Day, and I'm like trying to find flights with the show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 3 hours?
Yeah,
What?
and I learned that.
How is Indiana not in Central Time Zone?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was kind of weird because you don't think about it, but like for instance, Justin, when Purdue came to Corvallis, it was the first time Oregon State had an Eastern Time Zone team play at Reser Stadium since 2010. So when you just think about that, you're like, wow, like that. Just these teams from the East Coast don't come out west. They don't. Even in the case of Oregon, like I know, even if you're a bigger team, there aren't a whole lot of SEC teams who are like, yeah, I'll come to Eugene. You know what I mean?
I think you see why, right? Why would you sign up to go play? We'll play Oregon on a neutral site, sure. We're going to go play in top 5 toughest environment in all of college football? Yeah. I just said that. Don't shake your head.
Said no, we're good.
Oh, I thought you were saying no to Autzen. I was like,
no, that is fair and accurate, fair and true. No arguments here.
Here's what I was wondering this week, and obviously I'll put this to bed. Because I've never been to any Big Ten schools. I've never been to any games. I look to remedy that situation, but I've never been there. But the fact that Michigan came out, said, that's the loudest stadium I've ever been. And that was 2003. Ohio State has now come out, and every Ohio State fan was like, the loudest stadium I've ever been in. Is the Big Ten just not full of loud stadiums? Like, you hear about Camp Randall, you hear about the whiteout at Penn State, you hear about the Horseshoe. Yeah, Josh Pate goes on his show and he's like, nah, Autzen's louder than the entire Big Ten.
I think it's the way that it's designed. It's like Seattle, right? Is Seattle the biggest stadium in the NFL?
No, but it's
just the way it's designed. We got smarter engineers over here.
Well,
that's how I look at it. We do have great engineers.
Because I will say this. I've been to Husky Stadium for a big game. It's not as loud as Autzen when Autzen goes ludicrous, but it's close. So if Jed Fish gets that rolling, good luck on that road trip. You got to play at Autzen or at Husky Stadium when the Huskies are rolling. Oh, boy. It's a tough spot. Loudest stadiums might be out west. All right. I hope it doesn't get too loud when Fentress comes in. I think it'll be jovial. I think it'll be good-spirited, good-natured, a little ribbon between, just giving guff to buddies. But Aaron Fentress says Dan Lanning's a cheater. And he's been fighting the internet for a good 5 days now. We bring him on the show because, well, he makes me laugh. Fentress comes up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, so on Saturday, no, not tomorrow, nearly a week ago, the Oregon Ducks defeated the Ohio State Buckeyes at Autzen Stadium, and boy, there was a lot to talk about in this game. But the play that has continued to linger on is Oregon putting 12 men on the field. Was it gamesmanship? Was it cheating? Was it a happy accident? We put the appropriate intro music with Carrie Underwood singing "Before He Cheats" to bring in our good friend of the program from the Oregonian, Aaron Fentress, back on the big show. Fentress, good morning, bud. How we doing?
The song you should have been playing is "Cheater, Cheater, Pumpkin Eater."
I don't know if that's in our system. I don't know if I'm aware of that. I thought about there was a lot of country ones, and I don't know if you're a big country guy, Fentress, but like there's "Your Cheating Heart." But I thought, Carrie Underwood, she does the Sunday Night Football, where Russell Wilson's about to throw for about 400 yards on Sunday Night Football this week. And figured, let's just have a little fun with this before he cheats, because you have been fighting the internet all week long.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
You have been like Jon Snow with the White Walkers. It's just like, I shall take you all on to defend the wall.
Bring it.
So I thought let's have some fun with this. Now, let me preface this. You know what I'm about to say, but I want to just put it on the record.
Okay.
I'm an Oregon fan. I think what Oregon did with the 12 men on the field was gamesmanship. That being said, if Washington did that to Oregon, I would be furious. So I have announced my hypocrisy. Now we move forward.
It's all hypocrisy. The only reason why I kept engaging is because the hypocrisy was just incredible, and the examples people were throwing out there, and then someone would argue with me about it and then come back later. You're still talking about it? Well, I'm just responding to other morons like you, dude. Like, what do you want me to do? I'm just trying to be an equal opportunity blaster. But no, of course, look, dude, it can be gamesmanship and cheating at the same time.
Okay.
And let me make this clear. I'm not saying Lanning's a bad person or that he's a cheater by nature, or that there should be sanctions, or he should be fired, or they should go back and replay the last 11 seconds, or anything like that. I mean, he manipulated a rule, but I'm just not going to sit here and go, "Oh my God, he's playing chess while everyone's playing checkers, and it's so brilliant." And no, he cheated. Period. He bastardized that play. Football's 11 on 11.
Okay, because that was the question I wanted to ask you, because I threw some stuff out on Twitter. You and I went a little back and forth. I was laughing the entire time, and I was like, "This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun on Friday," because I think you knew where I was coming from. So I'm wondering, like, where is the line? Because there is things where you take penalties on purpose in football to manipulate the clock, or to manipulate the field. It happens in football all the time. Is the line for you that the fact that it was 12 on 11 and that crossed the line into cheating?
Yes.
Okay.
You 100%. You purposely destroyed the integrity of that play. It's funny, Jeff Schwartz was on there because someone was saying it wasn't that big a deal because of the yards they gave him and put him a little closer. But then Jeff Schwartz was like, "No, it's about the clock." Some people didn't understand that. Mm-hmm. And then he said, "You want the 12th guy out there to help protect the boundary to make it harder to throw a sideline pass." And I'm like, "Okay, exactly." So you were basically describing cheating. Here, hold on a second. Let me call this up, because what was funny for me the whole time is that when people are arguing that it wasn't cheating, is I'm calling up the definition of cheat: act dishonestly or unfairly in order to gain an advantage, especially in a game or examination. Dan Lanning acted dishonestly and unfairly when he put a 12th man on the field to give himself a clear advantage, and he did that in order to gain an advantage, like I said, and he did it during a game. So if you could take that situation and put it into the dictionary as a perfect example of cheating. And for me, it's just, as someone who's not a fan and blinded by the hero worship, it's just corny, because the other side of this is, so you didn't trust your defense.
Well, and I want to get into that in a moment, but you brought up the cheating thing. Now, for argument's sake, is it Dan Lanning's fault that the rules of the game are as such? Now, they've changed the rules.
That's not his fault.
That was it. But is it that the rules are as such that when you play 12 men on the field, they have decided that is only a 5-yard penalty because that to me is where the whole thing gets kind of in the muck. Fentress is like, yeah, it's cheating or it was gamesmanship, but they broke a rule. They were punished for said breaking of the rule. It happens in sports all the time, and people move on.
Okay, because we all know that 12 men on the field is something that happens by accident. Mm. And so it's like, oh, they didn't count them up. I've played football and coached football most of my life. You know how many times I'm like, count them up. It's like a big dude. It's like, oh, my God, we can't have 12 on the field. It's like this big thing. You're not supposed to do it. But when it happens, it's by accident, right? There's a bad substitution situation, or you see someone sprinting off the field. It's just 5 yards, okay, whatever, 5 yards, not that huge a deal. Because usually, if it's a situation where there's no other advantage other than in that particular play, and if you had an advantage and you stop them, the other team gets 5 yards and they get their down back. But this was done strictly to manipulate the clock, and that's something that's only going to happen in the last 20 seconds is exactly when it happened. It's just a rare situation. And so, yeah, I mean, look, we can give Lanning credit for being smart enough to think this. He didn't pioneer it. Apparently it's happened many times before. Someone brought up Arizona State doing it when you're putting 13 people on defense. I'm like, that's even more cheesy. Like, geez, why don't you just throw 20 people out there?
That's what I thought. Like, if you're only going to get 5 yards, put 20 guys out there.
Throw 20, double everybody in blitz 10. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you're going to win the play. But, so, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where you can give someone – it's sort of like finding a tax loophole, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's so smart. He found this loophole. But he's still cheating the system, and then those loopholes are closed. So that's the only thing.
Okay, we did this, and I want to close with this because I had some fun with this on Wednesday. We're going to play a fun game, Fentress. This is called Cheating or Not. So I have some examples, and in the Fentress, is this cheating or not? Because like you said, you could also be cheating and gamesmanship. How about faking an injury? Now, again, I'm not saying because Oregon had injuries faked against.
Absolutely, 100%. Okay. Absolutely.
Because by the way, Oregon has done and have done to them both. Like this, I'm not saying this because of the Chip Kelly years. Because Oregon did it last year against Washington. Like Terrence Ferguson blew out both knees and then was able to play 2 snaps later. I can at least recognize that. But like, because they talked about it on game day before, because Ole Miss is like. Fentress, Ole Miss has got guys going down left and right. I don't know if you've been seeing. So faking an
100%. The first time I ever remember seeing that was against Oregon when the Blair offense was just wearing teams out. And 100% is cheating. You're acting dishonestly and unfairly, right? It's in the definition. And in order to gain an advantage, and the advantage you're trying to gain is to slow stuff down so you can catch your breath, you can disrupt the other team, and it happens in a game. Yes, 100% cheating. And that, it's almost as bad. It might be worse. It might be worse because now you're just announcing to the world, we cannot hang with these dudes, right? Yeah. They're just gassing us. I know. Hey, Franklin, get a hammy. Oh, my hammy, and he falls to the ground and clocks. That's horrible.
By the way, I said this back, man, that was a long time ago, 15 years ago when this was going on, 12 years ago with the chip offense. And they really shored up this loophole with the 12 men on the field thing in 4 days, Fentress. They still haven't fixed it.
Oh, my God. They had an emergency meeting.
Yeah.
Zoom was fired up.
They haven't fixed the faking injury thing. I've always said, because, we always hear so much about player safety. If somebody is hurt, I think maybe they should be out for the series. How about that? You get hurt, you go down, you have to stop the game to take you off the field. You're done for the series. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. The thing is, it's so hard to are you really hurt? Are you not hurt? What if someone's really hurt and you penalize them?
But that's what I'm saying. If you're really hurt, you shouldn't be going back out there. Well, you got to go into the blue tent. We got to check you out, and you'll get, if you are cleared and you are not seriously hurt, and you're just dinged up, well, then you'll get back next series. But,
What if you just escalated it per time? If the injury occurs and the other team's running no huddle, right? And the first one occurs, okay, stop the clock, get out the field for one play. And then the next one who does it is 2 plays, and then the next one who does it is 3 plays, and then the next one who does it is 4 plays. But the other thing there is I could just stick, my third string defensive tackle out there and say, dude, pop an ankle.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd probably, if I were really egregious about doing this, I'd probably devote like 5 to 10 minutes of my practice and bring in some acting coaches. How do you fake an injury?
You bring like professional wrestlers. So, like, this is how you sell an injury.
Boom. There you go.
This is how you make it look like you have a knee, and then he's really working that knee.
Or just bring in LeBron.
No, LeBron's he's kind of the worst at it, right? Because we all know
he's a bad actor. You're right. Good point.
He's like, what's the next
one? Don't make your next one the whole taking a 5-yard penalty for punting. That one made me laugh the most. That's not on your list.
No,
right?
no. I was going to say taking an intentional safety, because there are teams that would take an intentional safety to milk clock and then also give themselves 20 extra yards. What about taking an intentional safety?
No, it's not cheating at all.
Okay, that was not cheating. It's because it's 11 on 11. Is that where we're at?
Well, what are you doing? That's cheating. You're purposely running a bad play. You're purposely running a bad play to
gain an advantage.
But you're not doing something dishonest. You're just running your bad play. Hey, we're going to run out of the back of the end zone.
It's kind of dishonest to run the wrong way on purpose, right? Like, nobody's trying to run the wrong way. A safety is supposed to be a punishment, and it's a loose definition of doing dishonest, because you're running the wrong way on purpose.
Yeah, to me, it's no. It's not cheating.
All right. This is the last one. How about when they intentionally walk Barry Bonds with the bases loaded? Cheating?
No. No, that's not cheating.
I was just, because the whole thing,
that's accepted strategy within the sport, and so is the safety things. There are some things that are accepted strategy.
Well, and that was kind of my point. Was I think the reason why I think some went on, because we've never seen this before, and I guess, like you said, it's happened before. I don't remember it. But it just felt like it was new, like in semi-pro when they invented the alley-oop. It's like, you can't do that. It's freaking me out. And it's like, that's what it felt like. It's like, we're used to people taking the delay of game. We're not used to a guy throwing out a 12th guy out there.
Okay, but here's the thing. The huge difference is you are starting the play. You knowingly starting the play completely legally. Like, the comp would be, let's say in basketball, in basketball, if you put 6 people on the court, they're not going to start the game, right? But let's say they would, and you put 6 people out there to stop a 3-point attempt, and you stop it, but the only penalty after the fact is the other team gets 1 free throw, but you get the ball.
Yeah.
So, I'm working the rule. I'm a genius. No, you cheated, dude. You put 6 guys on the court to help defend the play.
If that was the case,
you're bastardizing the play. Huh? What's that?
If that was the case, if those doofus referees didn't notice that they couldn't count 6 guys, then that's on them.
Well, I'm saying the play was allowed. Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying it's a situation I'm inventing that would be the equivalent as if you could actually do that and have the play take place. Oregon was able to have the play take place.
Couldn't you?
They don't necessarily stop action. They don't stop action if you have too many people on the field. It's just, okay, you can put 18 out there and they're probably going to run the play. I don't know what the threshold is. But
I did. Now, one last thing. I know I said that 2 things ago, but this is the last thing on this. We still believe he did it on purpose? What's your percentage of did it on purpose or percentage of, there were a lot of players running on and off and on and off, and when everybody's calling you a genius, maybe you don't interrupt them?
They sent the guy out there, and then he looked confused as to what his job was.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just... Like, if there's Pat Forty wrote a column, and he said he was in the elevator with the Oregon coaches, and they seemed to be a little bit frustrated. They didn't seem to be in on it. I don't know. It was just it was just interesting. They might have. There was a lot of confusion. I was cursing at the time in the stands, Fentress, because of the penalty. I didn't. Now again, afterwards, I was like, oh yeah, that was something. But I was cursing in the stands.
So I didn't read his article, but did he bring up or did he talk about the fact that you literally are saying, I don't trust my defense? You're saying that. When you walk Barry Bonds, you're saying, I don't trust my pitcher to get this dude out.
Well, yeah.
Right?
I would say that,
when
too.
You foul Shaq, when you hack Shaq, which people have brought that up as an equivalent, which it's not, but you're saying he's going to dunk on me, so I may as well send him to free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
If you put 12 guys out there, you're saying, yeah, I don't trust my 11 to get the stop.
Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, so now moving forward football-wise, and I spent some time earlier today going over top 10 wins, and then Oregon would ruin said top 10 wins by losing to an unranked opponent. It seems to be a bit of a tradition in Oregon football that Dan Lanning's got to find a way to get past. But as we sit here right now, I believe this win gives Oregon one get-out-of-jail-free card for the rest of the season. That if you could drop a game, maybe not Purdue, even if it is Purdue, but if you just drop one of the next 6, and I think they'll be favored in all of those games, if you just drop one, I think you still make the playoff. You with me on that?
Oh, that's 100%.
Yeah, so they got to get out of jail free card for the rest of the season.
That's 100% lock, yeah. I thought you were going to say if they drop one, they could still get into the conference title game, which I agree with. I think they could lose 2. I mean, what if the second loss is the conference title game? I think you're going to be in.
Yeah, I think
a lot of stuff's going to happen in the next month and a half. That's what we all know, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, this team's that team, this team," and okay, upsets are coming, right? The upsets we saw in the first half are not going to be the only upsets. So that's why if you're Oregon, you got to be careful. And you didn't blow out Ohio State. Right, you won by 1 point at home in a crazy atmosphere. It was an amazing game that could have gone either way, which is the same thing everyone said when Oregon lost at UW last year, right? It didn't necessarily mean UW was better. It was a great game, could have gone either way. And so it's not like we can sit here and say that this means they're just going to dominate every team that comes along. Styles make fights, things happen. These are kids. Sometimes you play over your head, sometimes you play below your head, which is why Oregon has blown, like you mentioned, 2003, Michigan. I'm sure you've talked about this, right? That was the biggest win in program history.
Yeah.
You got blown, right?
Yeah.
The Oklahoma win in 06. They were 4-0. They won that. Then they won another one. The boom, they fell apart. 2021, win at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Stanford,
3-9 Stanford team. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And we know that Oregon didn't necessarily look dominant in the first 5 games, did they? They looked good against bad teams, but they didn't look dominant. The type of dominance that we've seen from the Oregon in the past. Of course, different eras, right? So, yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to lose tonight, but at Wisconsin, at Michigan, Illinois is coming. Maybe they get hot. There's potential losses out there, but I see this team ending up in the playoffs. And my dream, I pray for every night, is Oregon-Miami matchup in the playoffs. Oh, the theater. My God.
At Autzen, too.
Wherever. It doesn't matter.
Do you think, real quick, 30 seconds, you think Miami's going to win the ACC?
I don't know. They maybe should have lost twice already, right? You don't know what's coming. But I want to give you 100% credit. At the start of this, you admitted you were being a fanboy and a hypocrite.
100%.
And that you would be crying the other way. So I always give you credit because you will be honest in the end, even when you're being ridiculous.
I would have been so mad if Kalen DeBoer did that. Like, I would have been so furious, and I would be calling for an investigation. I would be calling for them to replay the entire fourth quarter. I would call for it all, but they didn't. And I look at the world through my glasses, Fentress, and my glasses say chestnut checkers, my friend.
100%, and that's how it is with fans, and that's cool, and that's why I'm there to, sort of like try and bring people back to reality a little bit.
Is Russell Wilson going to let me down on Sunday night? Am I in for a?
I don't know. He wasn't bad last year.
I said Russell Wilson is like the milk that's been in the fridge, maybe just a smidge too long. Like, you got to take the cap off and smell it. Like, we got it, and that's what Sunday night's going to be.
That's a great analogy.
All right.
I don't know what he has left in him.
You can follow him on social media at Aaron J. Fentress. He will fight with you on the internet. He enjoys it, though, just so you know, and he has unlimited energy when fighting with you on the internet. It is very annoying, but also very entertaining. You don't quit, and it's funny, but it's also tough. Also, you can read his stuff at The Oregonian, OregonLive.com. And you can hear him on, Talking Ducks. Don't forget Talking Ducks. And then, of course, every once in a while on this show. Hey, Fentress, have a great weekend, bud. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Later.
There you go. Aaron Fentress, everybody. We've got the RCM mailbag coming up. But before we do, I want to let you know about Ticket Tuesday. That's right. Coming up next week, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. Red hot and rolling here on Rip City Radio. Listen to Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad every Tuesday from 3 to 6 for your chance to win tickets to Trailblazers home games. Each and every Tuesday, your chance to win also single game tickets are available now at trailblazers.com. It is Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday from Rip City Radio. RCM mailbag next, 620, Rip City Radio. Hey, don't forget about Cash for the Sixth Man. It is back on Rip City Radio. $1,000 up for grabs. Listen for keywords each and every weekday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the 15s for your chance to win $1,000 13 times a day. All the details are at ripcityradio.com. All right. It's time to wrap up the show. Let's get ready for a Football Friday. Oregon, Purdue tonight. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Oregon State, UNLV, and a full slate of games in between. But we have one bit of business to do. It is the RCM mailbag. Here we go.
All right, let's open up the mailbag today with a little bit of a different twist, Justin. So I'm curious your thoughts on this. So I've recently started watching the Starting Five on Netflix, which is, very much in the realm of their receiver, Full Swing, Formula One, all the above that they've done in terms of the sports documentaries that follows players in season. My question to you is this, Justin. First time for everything, and 100% directly, the comments that Davante Adams made last year on receiver led to him being traded this year.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, do you think we'll see anything, whether it's Full Swing, the maybe something will be said in Starting Five this year that I think that could have that same kind of thought process. But I'm just curious for you, do you think we could see more of this?
More of the, comments from a documentary coming down to have consequences? Something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely do. Because, one, there's going to be more behind the scenes mic'd up. It's just, that's how TV is now, right? Is live sports is the best thing on TV because you can't fast forward through the commercials like you do every other TV show or get it commercial free on streaming. And so if live sports is the best, then the next best is kind of behind the scenes and documentary style stuff. That's what people want. So there's going to be more of this than less of this. There's going to be more money involved, and people are going to stop getting sensitive over it, whether it's Antonio Pierce in Las Vegas, who apparently took umbrage with Davante Adams, which
that quote is, Davante signed up for the show. There were things that were said and shown. It is what it is. You can't erase it.
Yeah.
So that rubbed him the wrong way.
Now, that being said, because I don't think players are going to shy away from it, I actually think players are going to run towards it because Davante Adams got what he wanted. He got out of Las Vegas. He still got paid, and he gets to play football with Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know if a lot of players are going to be running away from it. I think any PR is good PR to this generation. That's not a criticism. It's an observation. It's a generation of athletes that put everything out there, right? With social media, and some people put a little bit too much out there. I mean, the amount of college kids that are Instagram living in the locker room after the game, and it's so yeah, I definitely think we're going to see more of it because unlike The Last Dance, where Michael Jordan was executive producer, now they said he didn't edit anything out. His ex-wife was obviously not anywhere on that 10-hour documentary, which I thought was interesting. But they said he didn't edit anything out. But when you are the executive producer and you essentially have veto power, you can make certain stuff happen. But on the, I don't believe on the receiver, I don't think those guys are producers. I don't think they have veto power.
They don't.
I think LeBron is on this one, though, on the Starting Five.
I believe he is. I think you're right. And it's kind of interesting because so far it's been a good watch. I've only watched 2 episodes. I'm liking Anthony Edwards a lot more. I really am liking that dude. It's tough not to like him with his just swagger, bravado, confidence.
Do you think sports fans want to see controversy in these, or do you think they want to see players kind of propped up? Because you've had the Mr. McMahon documentary, and
I got halfway through and couldn't finish it.
Well, if you're not a wrestling fan,
Yeah, I got about
could
halfway
understand.
through, and I'm like, just couldn't do it.
If you're a wrestling
Solid, though,
fan and you
for what
like
it's
lived
worth.
through it, like I did as a
Right.
kid, you're like, oh boy, it's about to get good. If you didn't, But he didn't come out looking very good for obvious reasons. Then there is, Last Dance, or more important, like the Derek Jeter 30 for 30 is like, Derek Jeter's awesome. Everybody else stinks.
I just think I think Michael cares a lot because, go back to what you were telling me about Air, Justin. They cut out Tinker Hatfield and created a role.
No, Sonny Vaccaro.
Or Scooby. No, say that again?
Or no, not Sonny Vaccaro. I don't think they cut out Tinker Hatfield.
I believe that they did.
Did they?
And replaced him with, was it George White?
Howard White.
Howard White, thank you.
But they were all there.
Yeah, like it was just interesting how like Michael Jordan's like, well, you're not making this movie
Oh,
Air.
wait, no. I don't think they cut out Tinker Hatfield because Tinker wasn't there until the Jordan 3. But I think there was somebody.
Yeah, like I thought I remember there's something where Michael Jordan's like, yeah, make that change before it goes. And it's like, that's kind of Michael Jordan's MO, right?
Well, he also got he was like, it was more about his mom than his dad.
Sure,
and I think there was something there too, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to watch it. I might give it a shot. I don't know.
It's better than Receiver. I'll say that.
Is it? But you know my thing with LeBron, though.
Am I going to get? You do see a lot of LeBron.
Oh my goodness!
A lot of LeBron.
We got football tonight. So that's what I am looking forward to. We are back Monday morning. Thanks to Aaron Fentress. Thanks to super producer Brendan, and thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Friday, everybody. We'll talk to you on Monday morning here on 620 Rip City Radio.